So I explored the industry a little bit and I came up with my first idea. I made a logo. That's always the first thing. If you want to start a company, just name and the logo. You don't need a business plan. If anyone's listening, don't worry about a business plan. Just a name and a cool logo. And confidence. Confidence, a logo, and a name. That's really all you need. And an idea.
Yeah.
So I started with those things. And then I made a flyer for my first exhibit and I shopped it around. I designed the bulk of the physical components for the exhibit. And one reason for that, well, there's a lot of reasons. Everything comes down, most of it comes down to control, artistic vision, and money. I want to be
Hmm.
in control of everything. I like
Yep.
having my own vision, and I need to do it as affordably as possible.
Hmm.
So if you just hand off an exhibit to an exhibit designer, it'll come back super kick-ass, but it's also going to cost $40,000 to build a thing that's the size of a bed. It's like,
Hmm.
that's more than I want to spend, you know? How can I do it for $400? You know, so when I'm designing stuff, there's the other, one half of my brain is like, what looks cool, and the other half of my brain is like, yeah, but how would you actually do this? So I'm always thinking about the materials. Like, okay, I could go buy this would be ready made. I don't have to have this manufactured.
That's where you growing up knowing how to make stuff though comes into play, that you can actually
And the other
think.
piece of that is knowing that it's going to have to travel. I can visualize how is it going to break down, because a lot of times if you hire an exhibit designer to make stuff, it'll be like, yeah, it's the size of a bed and it doesn't come apart.
Right.
Or no, it's 5 times the size of a bed and it doesn't come apart. It's like, how are we going to move this from one city to the next? So
Right.
I try to make sure it can, origami down really small.
And the two Seth Tuesdays you mentioned, I was definitely going to bring it up. How do you do that, man? That's like, for me, flawlessly executed Parent Trap kind of like another skill I don't have.
So what if on Tuesdays, not every Tuesday, but some Tuesdays, we did a thing called Two Seth Tuesday? I think you mean I. Yes, I mean I. And I would make a video that had both of us in it, both of me in it.
I was curious, maybe you can walk us through how you came up with it,
Yeah,
what it takes to put together.
they're super fun to do. And how did well, honestly, I mean, the first one is the conversation about why, about doing it. So that was literally
Mm.
actually what happened in my head. I was like, man, I should do a thing. And then I'm like, but really, why? Why do people want to see it? I don't know. I just want to do it. Yeah. And part of it is I don't, I just don't have like a lot of buddies, who like
Right.
do creative stuff. So I'm like, who could I get to be in my video? I know me.
Myself.
I could get myself, I could totally talk myself into being in this video. But yeah, it's actually kind of a fun little challenge for myself because I do it by myself, so I don't have somebody helping me with any of it. And I do it when I'm completely alone in the building, the home, the house, the condo, whatever, because it's kind of a weird process. So
Hmm.
I just set up my camera on a tripod and or my phone, Samsung Galaxy. I tell myself in my head, I'm like, okay, what's the story going to be? What's the dialogue? So then I just go and I stand in one spot and I do the dialogue, and then I stop, and in my head I think the other piece of the dialogue, sort of ventriloquist style, you know, and then I deliver my next line, and I usually insert a little bit of extra space in there that I can, if I'm really careful, I can cut out without a glitch,
Hmm.
um, because
You
although
can't move
sometimes,
around a lot in those
yeah,
pauses, huh?
there's a little bit of time when I have to not move around just to be careful, but and so then I record that, and then and the camera's still rolling, and I just step out of the way and I take off my shirt or whatever, change some of my clothes, and then I go and stand in the other spot and then just deliver.
But are you replaying the thing and listening
No,
to it?
no,
Look at you.
no. I just do it, and I just
Like
do it
a
all in one,
pro.
so it's in one take.
Wow. But how are you passing yourself stuff? Like, didn't you like hand yourself
I
an ornament? How?
I'm watching
Okay,
David.
yeah.
Yeah, that was hard. That was I recorded the scene just empty, so I'd have a clean shot of the
Right.
kitchen counter, and then I put a canister on the counter at the height where I thought the plate was going to be when I set it down, So I'm doing the thing, blah blah blah, and then I try to like very carefully laterally just set this plate down on this canister. And then when I'm doing the other character, I'm doing my stuff, and then I reach down and I just picked it up off the canister. Again, trying to do it fairly laterally. And so then when I'm compositing it, I have the two shots side by side, but then I have that original shot that I had where the counter was clear. I bring that in and mask it out. So
Wow.
that covers up the canister. But it has to be I don't know, in the old days we called it a traveling mat, but it has to, I have to go in frame by frame and adjust that as the plate is leaving.
Oh, you already lost me on where I would be.
Well, and I had to do it with the plate, and with the plate too, I had to mask the plate because the plate comes in. And one time it's the plate in motion,
Right.
and then the other time it's when it's leaving. And so it was.
That's a level
hard.
of patience I probably don't possess.
It took so long. It took so many hours. It was ridiculous. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a 30-second thing. It's taking me hours. And it worked out pretty well, especially if you're watching it, on your phone or.
Oh, sure.
I think if you saw it really big, you can see the plate kind of goes a little blah, 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 in there, but it's pretty clean. I mean,
I think, yeah, I was probably watching it on my phone, but
for an Instagram / HitRecord nonsense, I think it's pretty tight. But I didn't learn my lesson because then I decided to do the one where I'm looking at myself in the bathroom mirror, and I decided to pass myself a whitening strip through the glass.
Yes.
That was really hard because both characters have a reflection in the mirror as well as an actual person standing outside there. So now there's 4 characters, and I have to, there are 4 images. And so I had to just do all these layers. Well, there's one layer that's like just a hand. And
what are you working in?
it worked out. I use Premiere.
Okay.
Adobe Premiere.